James, my cereal. You can catch me at the Dairy for Monist. Shout out to the Monist gang. Okay, cool. So I'm an academic first, and the question why always drives me and creates the need for me to understand how things work. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the quantum physics explanation of the law of attraction, heavily influenced by Dr. Joe Dispenza's work. In order to fully understand the message I'm trying to get across, though, I'm going to have to briefly discuss the history of quantum physics, and I'm going to need you to hold on through it. And then I'll go through some scientific experiments that practically apply to our community and touch on what this means for manifestation purposes. Okay, cool, so let's go. I want to take it back to as early as the 17th century. So here scientists had a mechanistic model of how the universe works. This model of the universe believed that the universe is controlled by predictable laws. René Descartes, a renowned mathematician and philosopher in the 17th century, was a proponent for the mechanistic model of the universe, as he could mathematically explain the physical universe using predictable laws. However, the human mind had many variables and did not fall into these predictable laws. René Descartes concluded that the human mind did not follow the same laws that the physical world followed because the mind is an instrument of God, and therefore science should do away with it and let religion explain how the mind works, as religion deals with things pertaining to God. Therefore, science should be only used to explain the physical world, and this line of thinking separated mind and matter, spirit and science, as they were seen as two separate worlds within the academic community. Cool, so the division of matter and mind as a way of understanding reality stood true for centuries and was carried forward by scientists such as Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton pushed the idea of a predictable physical world while creating a classical Newtonian physical model. And he stated that everything in the universe is created out of solid matter. This model downplayed the role of energy within the universe, as he saw energy as just a force that can move solid objects or change the physical states of matter, which has nothing to do with the mind. It is worth emphasizing that under the mechanistic model of the universe, the mind had no influence over matter, as there were two separate worlds and reality was subject to physical laws. I bet. So let's fast forward 2 centuries later. Albert Einstein discovered E equals mc squared, which led to the discovery that energy and matter are so closely related they're interchangeable, disagreeing with Newton and René's view that everything was made out of solid matter. For example, they used light. Light could be both wave, which is energy, and particle at the same time, which illustrates the flaws of the mechanistic model of the universe. The mechanistic model was flawed at a subatomic level. Subatomic refers to the parts such as the electrons, the protons, the neutrons, and so on that make up an atom, which are the building blocks of all things physical. So the discovery that subatomic possesses not only physical qualities, but also energetic qualities meant that the universe is made both out of energy and particles, which in part created the field of quantum physics. However, despite the realization that energy and matter are interchangeable, this wasn't enough to explain the nature of reality, as matter across the universe did not behave in the same predictable manner. For example, the subatomic particles and the larger objects behaved totally differently. Larger objects were more predictable and easy to replicate, while subatomic particles operated in very unpredictable ways. Energy would have no respect for time and space and appeared and disappeared to wherever, whenever it deemed fit. This was confusing because everything is made out of subatomic particles, but they played under different rules at a micro analysis than the larger particles they created. Where did the subatomic particles appear from and continue to disappear to, and what rules them, was the question at hand. However, quantum physics soon discovered that subatomic particles respond to mindful attention. They soon learned that whoever was observing the subatomic particle during experiments altered the particle, and this was coined the observer effect. Subatomic particles exist simultaneously in an infinite array of possibilities, within an invisible field of energy. But only when the observer focuses attention on any location of one electron does the electron appear. So in other words, in order for a subatomic particle to enter into space and time and reality, you need to observe it. This is called the collapse of the wave function, because the infinite possibilities of the electron within the invisible field of energy collapse into one physical event, experience, circumstances according to the observer. And it needs an observer for it to actually collapse into physical reality. Therefore, remarrying mind back into the equation. As a consequence, creating a remarriage of mind and matter, as they cannot be separate worlds, as Rainier suggested earlier on. As the subjective mind literally produces changes into the physical world, these particles exist as pure potential in infinite possibilities in the invisible energy field until it's observed. This is a big realization, considering that these particles are the foundation of what we call reality. Cool, so bringing this information closer to home. There's a quote by Dr. Joe Dispenza that says, if your mind can influence the appearance of an electron, then theoretically it can influence the appearance of any possibility. In other words, the future you, however you imagine it, exists in the quantum field in infinite ways, as there are infinite yous that needs to be observed and collapsed into physical reality. I think of this by using an analogy of the Google search engine, where there are millions of websites that already exist, in which case that will be the invisible field, right? And you get to choose and observe the website you type in to come into your experience or into your awareness. And you choose from the array of infinite amount of websites. So in the same way, there's an infinite reality within the quantum field where you are your best version of yourself and you are the worst version of yourself. Energy is shaped by mindful intention through consciousness into reality. The physical aspect of the universe is an interconnected unified field of information. As matter and energy are so interchangeable, they are one. The quantum universe is waiting for a conscious mind to make waves of infinite possibilities to collapse into a physical experience and circumstance, as we are connected to everything within the quantum field. And this is not boxed within space and time. You have a unique universal signature, as you are consciousness using a body and a brain. And consciousness is connected to the quantum field at all times. This is called quantum entanglement, which this definition is when two particles in quantum physics link and are bonded together beyond space and time. So in other words, the future you in the quantum field is connected and entangled with the present you right now. Alright, bet, say less. So here are two studies to better illustrate what I've said. Dr. Leonard Lebovici conducted a double-blind randomized controlled trial involving 3,393 hospital patients in the year 2000. He wanted to see if prayer could affect and better the patient's conditions, which would be a perfect test if mind is affecting matter, space, and time. The patients selected had sepsis and were hospitalized. The doctor randomly had half the patients prayed for and the other half ignored. He measured how long the fever lasted, the length of the hospital stay, and how many died as a result of the infection. The people were prayed for a shorter hospitalization time and a decreased fever. The death rate, however, was not impacted by prayer. Remember that prayer is mindful intention for their health in this scenario. However, here's the twist. The people who were praying had no idea that some of the patients that they were praying for had been in hospital from 1990 to 1996, 10 years before the experiment. So essentially, they were praying for patients in the past. And the patients within the past were being affected by futuristic prayers, and that was an indication on how energy within the quantum field is not bound by space and time. A review of this study, quote-unquote, said, "A statistical analysis of this experiment proved that these effects were far beyond coincidence." illustrating our mind's intention in the quantum field expands across time and matter. And if that study ain't enough for you to convince you that intentional mindfulness affects matter, say less, I got you. A cellular biologist named Glenn Rain at HeartMath Research Center in California, he wanted to see if meditative healers could alter biological systems. So he put DNA into tubes and used about 10 people well versed in the mind and heart coherence, who managed to produce feelings such as love, appreciation, and gratitude with consistent heartbeat patterns associated with these emotions that can be scientifically measured. The participants were told to hold the DNA samples in their hands or remotely. So the first group went in and they were just told to focus on the DNA sample. And to no surprise, no changes were made at all on the DNA sample. The second group was told to do the exact same thing, but instead now to use the heart and mind coherence techniques to feel love, appreciation, and gratitude, while they hold the clear intention in their mind to unwind the DNA strands within the tube. And the second group managed to make a change to the shape of the samples and unwound the DNA strands within the tube up to 25%. A third group of trained people did the exact same thing, but they were told to have the clear intent to change the DNA strand, but instructed not to enter the positive emotional heart and mind coherence techniques and not to do them. And to no surprise, no changes were made to the DNA strand. What came clear out of this study was only when they had clear intentions and an emotion associated with it, in this case gratitude, love, and a clear heart and mind coherence, did they manage to change physical matter from mind. This is literally the law of attraction formula. The Heart and Math Research Institute has shown that the quantum field doesn't just respond to wishes, but to clearly emotionalized intent. Furthermore, the quantum field doesn't respond to what you want, but what you're feeling in real time. Hence the emphasis on many ancient texts that you must always feel and be in a state of gratitude. So the thoughts send the signal out to the quantum fields, and the emotion attracts the results to us, because how we think and feel creates our state of being. Therefore, we attract what we are and not what we want. What you broadcast every day to the invisible field is important, as it draws from the infinite potential of the many experiences that you may attract from it. We have a habit mind, and depending on who you talk to, you have about 60 to 70,000 thoughts that go through your head every single day. And 90% of them are the same from the previous day. So unconsciously you give out the same signals and attract the same loop, the same circumstances, experiences, and results. So when you pray with clear intent, emotionalized with gratitude, and trust the universe to deliver it to you. I refer to ancient texts a lot in this channel because I feel like there's just so much wisdom from many bodies of ancient texts. And I say that to say James 1 verse 6 says, "But when you pray, you must believe and not doubt at all. Whoever doubts is like a wave in a sea that is driven and blown by the wind." People like that are unable to make up their minds and undecided in all they do, and must not think they'll receive anything from the Lord. The goal here is to have a clear intent and to emotionalize that intent. In conclusion, the quantum field holds infinite possibilities and probabilities that we choose from, that our consciousness, which consists of intent and emotions, can collapse into reality. Be conscious about what you request from the quantum field. If you respond to current life situation and you say life sucks, and that's your intent that you've given out, and you emotionalize that idea that everything is bad, you end up picking up that possibility out of the infinite possibilities that you can experience within the future and attract that into your life. That is why a state of gratitude should always be attained, if possible, at all times. James, my series, y'all can catch me at the Diary from Honest. If you like this content, please do subscribe. Turns out 70% of people watch my content unsubscribe, so please do subscribe. I would really appreciate it. I know I've been slacking like it's church girls with the uploads, but I am back, and I'm sure I have another one for you this week. I wish you all blessings. I'm grateful for your attention.